Welcome into another edition of New Track Record Podcast. Caleb Hatch, Justin Kinney with you from the WELT studios. And once again, joined by a special guest as we get ready for the PRI Hoosier 500 coming up this Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern. And we are joined by the Polesitter, Robert Maleczka. Robert, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
So let's first things first. Let's talk about qualifying. Was this a one attempt thing and you nailed it, or how many attempts did it take for you to win the pole?
No. So, I had a decent first attempt. Completed all 4 laps pretty easily, but I knew some guys behind me were going to go a little bit quicker. So, we have the line 1, line 2 thing going on, and pulled my time because I knew that I could easily go quicker. And, I'm really glad I did because I think I picked up about 100th and a half, and that was able to get me full there. So, it was, really happy with the run that I had there, and happy to be on pole for the race.
And Robert, just like real life, you had to pull your time. It's a risk, right? It's a risk, but it worked out for you.
Oh, 100%. I think especially with I'm sure they have it in real life too, right? But that first run, you kind of have the nerves in you, and you miss a little apex here, a little apex there, and going into the second run, just having the confidence in the car and knowing what the track's going to do, and kind of seeing how the times are going up on the boards throughout the day, and knowing that to give myself the best shot that I can to get pole position for the 500. That have to pull my time and kind of execute, and I'm really grateful that I did.
And your teammate, Alexander Russell, very similar to what you did as well. Was there any discussion with you guys? We talk about teammates, just how much did you work together over qualifying with you two?
Yeah, honestly, just not just us two, but our whole team. I think we, unlike IndyCar where you can have, a max of 3 guys on the team right now, we have 6, and we locked out 1 through 6 for this race. So a lot of gamesmanship going on, a lot of kind of boosting each other's confidence quite a bit and pushing each other to the limits of what really the track could do and what the car could do for us. So, it was a great run by Alex. He had me sweating there for a little bit because it looked like he might be my time, but nonetheless, it was a great run by him. And also, I have to mention Phil Kraus and P3. We were all really close on time, and we just kind of pushed each other to get better.
You mentioned that team, Power Slide affiliated entries, the first 6 spots, as you mentioned. What is it about? What was it about you guys that made you all so fast?
Yeah, first I got to shout out Tommy Milner. I'm sure many people in the motorsport world have heard of Tommy Milner as a Corvette driver in IMSA. But, we've just put a lot of hours into it. For us, we are a small community on the Irish and IndyCar side of things. But for us, for Tanner and for Ryan to put such a big event for us every year, pouring in a lot of effort and money, a lot of media like we're doing right now. And it's just a lot of effort goes on just to make these events, and for us as a team to make the cars work as well as they do, and get as much speed as we can out of it.
Robert, you finished in second last year, so you're no stranger to running up front. What's the strategy going to be for you early on in this race?
That's the $1 million question, right? I'm sure people that follow sim racing on the side know that we had a big update just a few days ago where prior we did not have the hybrid, and just like in real life, the hybrid has changed everything for us. We're seeing way more tire wear. There's way more weight in the car. It's way more edgy. So really, it's just kind of survive those first probably 50, 100 laps, get myself positioned in the top 5, top 10, the last 100 laps, and hopefully, after the final pit stop, we're in a shot to win the thing.
You mentioned the hybrid coming on in iRacing. Would this suit your style better? Was it that you figured it out as time went on? How did that go?
Honestly, even to this minute, we're still talking about setup changes and how this hybrid is affecting the car balance and all that with tire wear, how the car handles in traffic, things like that. So it's been tough to get our hands on it. We haven't had a major update for this car in many, many years, and to get it thrown on us right after qualifying, and we only have, I think, a total of 5 days to kind of get used to it and practice, while not really knowing what the conditions will be on the track for us. It's kind of throwing us off for a loop, but, it's the same for all 32 other drivers, and, we'll see how it goes.
And Robert, you mentioned practice. How does it work? Is it you just have the practice time that's the official practice time for the event, or can you play or race online and practice? Break that down for us. So is it just what you are allowed in the event?
Yeah, so both are an option, right? So thankfully Tanner hosts a session every day for everyone involved. It goes on from, I think, 7:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. at night. So there's constantly people in that, and it's a good test to see how you match up against other cars that are not your teammates. But for our team on PowerSlide Team Hype, every day for probably 2-3 hours, we're doing group sessions with 5, 6, 7, 8 cars. Just kind of work on the setup. We all kind of have our own specialty with the setup, whether it's aero or chassis or gearing or dampers. And for us specifically, every day we've been kind of specializing in one thing. And, I think we probably put in 15, 16 hours already this week. So, hopefully it works out.
Robert, let's backtrack a bit. How'd you get into iRacing, and how long have you been playing on iRacing?
Yeah, so I grew up being an IndyCar fan, but I was really never into go-karting or even like online racing games. But like many during 2020 with COVID going on, I'm like looking for something to do. We're all locked in, right? So I stumbled upon a few iRacing videos. It was early May, and we're all looking forward to the real life Indy 500, but there wasn't one going on. And I saw Scott McLaughlin actually running the official iRacing Indy 500, and that's what really kind of piqued my interest in iRacing. Got into it and just really fell in love with the game, with the community, and really the competition side of it, because in my opinion, there's nothing like iRacing. Everyone is so good. There's so many members, and it's a great community to be part of.
We mentioned this last week, but how much has the iRacing IndyCar community changed and developed over the last 5 years? Because you mentioned the pandemic, and then we also know of the iRacing and IndyCar kind of butting heads before figuring things out. So how has the community, from your perspective, kind of developed and changed over 5 years?
Yeah, prior to, when IndyCar and iRacing were having their issues or whatever, it was, pretty normal. But, when that happened, it was really a big step for the community, because we all kind of came together and realized, like, hey, this is all something we love, and it's kind of being taken away from us, right? So when that relationship was rekindled and built back up, we were all just head over heels and just very happy that was back, because, it's kind of a melting pot where, like, we're all people from all over the world. We got Swedes, we got Australians, we got Americans, we got people from Brazil in it. And, there might be a language barrier between some of us, but the one thing we all have common is that we love IndyCar racing. And, that's really the great thing about it, that no matter who you are or what your background is, that we all have a common interest, and that is the love of IndyCar. So.
And you mentioned being an IndyCar fan. What is your experience in terms of attending races? Have you been to a 500?
Yeah, so my we've actually been attending the Indy 500 since, we don't really know exactly when, but the mid-1950s.
Oh, my. Wow.
My grandfather started, and so I guess quick story. So for about 20 years there, he actually would never pay for a ticket. There used to be a way to sneak in, and he used to sit on the hills in turn one before they repaved it with the road course. So, my grandfather started going there, then obviously my father, and then I've been going since, I believe, 2001. So, grew up there. My first real memory is 2006 with Sam Hornish passing Marco right in front of me, popping out of the draft directly ahead of me, and that's probably still one of the clearest memories in my mind. So, I've been found for basically my entire life, but just not just IndyCar, just loving anything with a motor and four wheels. Racing is my passion. Never got into it in real life, but I'm glad that sim racing is there, and I can kind of follow my dreams that way.
How about Grandpa figuring out a way to get in?
That's incredible. It's funny you mentioned the 06 race. That was my second race that I attended Indy 500 in person, and I was sitting inside of turn one, go figure, in the terrible rickety stands that they had there, and just hearing the roar of the crowd. I didn't obviously see the finish, but hearing the roar was something I'll never forget. And then we were shocked to see that Hornish actually won that race. You mentioned Tommy Milner working with your team. Any other professional race car drivers that you've either worked with or raced against in iRacing?
So I guess most notably, especially right now, in IndyCar, Stingray Robb. We've done a decent amount of sim testing with him. And also Tony Kanaan. Every now and then he pops in and joins us. So it's great to, be in contact with those guys. But honestly, throughout the years, I mean, you just spend a month or two, you're going to run into a real-life driver, whether it's, Tony Kanaan. I know you guys know R.C. Henderson most likely. A few years ago, Scott McLaughlin and Joseph Newgarden used to host random races where, we'd be doing the stadium super trucks around like Brands Hatch just for fun. Also having battles with Shane Van Gisbergen in the IndyCar. Every off season, he usually pops up and is pretty active in our community, which is always great to see. And then also Kimi Antonelli. Every now and then you'll see Oscar Piastri. So the names go on and on, but there's guys from every racing series that are active, and it's always a pleasure to race with them.
What's your setup like?
Honestly, we have a IndyCar Pro Series that's about to start up here in a few months, and all these guys have these massive iRacing rigs, their monitors strapped to their rig and all that, and I'm the one guy that's still on your typical desk setup that really anyone can get into sim racing with. So it's kind of a badge of honor where it's like even if you're on a desk setup, you can be really successful in sim racing. But yeah, other than that, just your typical chair. I got a triple monitor setup, Fanatec wheel pedals. So nothing too extreme, but obviously it is a bit pricey, more than your standard Thrustmaster gear.
And it's a good piece of advice to anybody that's trying to get into it, because as we talked about last week, right? You picture setting up a rig, as you guys call it, and feel like it's going to be very expensive to be competitive. And now we're talking to the Polesitter, who still has a desk setup. So for anyone that's looking to get into it or worried that it's going to cost a lot of money to be really good at it, sounds like Robert's bucking the trend a little bit. But now that you look towards the event, Robert, how do you prep? How do you get ready? We mentioned earlier, Caleb said you started second in this race, or started second or finished second, Caleb?
Finished second.
Finished second. So, how do you change anything from last year in terms of preparation? Do you use that obviously as motivation? What's the mindset? How do you prep for the big day?
Yeah, so, to kind of tie it into real life, like there's a lot of, especially for these events that run for, a week or two, your mind can definitely get tired. So it's really a balance of, putting the effort, behind the scenes to be competitive enough to possibly win the race, but also, you don't want to tire yourself out mentally where, we can run, a lap every, 40 seconds and continue that for 8 hours when, we can make a change instantly. Well, in real life, these guys have some time to, rest after doing a 15, 20 lap run. So yeah, right now it's just kind of managing, not getting burned out. And especially with this update, so many things have changed on the procedure side of things, whether it's, pit entry or leaving your pit box, getting into your pit box, things like that. So, working on the small details, refining those details, and, giving myself the best opportunity to not make any major mistakes and, keep myself in contention.
Okay, so in real life, obviously, you could have issues with the drink bottle. You could have a weight jacker break. Like, does that sort of stuff happen in iRacing? Like your weight jacker just gives out, like in the middle of a race?
100%. I mean, you can spill your little cup of water there and your computer is shut down, right? So you got to be careful with that. But yeah, I mean, we all have like tools to help with the weight jacker. A lot of these real life teams have kind of figured out how to drop the rear on the streets with the weight jacker. And, that's something we've been actually using for, I think, as long as they've been doing it, or maybe even longer, because, with the reliability of parts in real life, they can't do it all the time. But I'm pretty sure they've started doing it. All teams have started doing it for real life qualifying, at least. So, we have that, and that obviously can go wrong still. Nothing's ever perfect, but, some guys have, internet issues. Some guys have kids where their kids are turning off the computer or cats jumping on their computer, things like that. But I mean, all those things are, you can get angry if things like that happen, but it's no different than guys having an engine failure or, a loose wheel in real life. So, we try to take all those things into consideration and not have those issues, but nothing's ever 100%.
Now, Robert, does randomness strike on pit stops too? Can something happen in the pit, right? Loose lug nut or something, or are they pretty standard? Hey, your pit stops are going to be X amount of seconds every time.
No, pretty standard. I mean, there's some variability in the pit stop times. I'd say give or take a second. And that, real honestly, I think that kind of depends on if you hit your marks or not. Like, in real life, these guys are on their marks every time, where I think, honestly, that's our biggest weakness as, like, top competitors on iRacing, where in real life, those guys are on their marks 100% of the time, while us, we have a bit more wiggle room. So, yeah, to answer your question, like, it's tough, like, having to be that accurate all the time. I don't know how they do it in real life, but, I'm really lucky that we have a little wiggle room to kind of make mistakes like that.
Do you have a pre-race routine, especially for something like this where, this isn't like, 20 laps or 40 laps? I mean, this is a 500-mile race. This is going to be, 3 hours sitting at your rig on iRacing going at it, so it takes a lot of focus. Any tricks or anything that you use to get focused and locked in before a race?
No, not really. I mean, I guess a little funny story where we had this event in 2022, and I wasn't really sure when the race was exactly starting, so I figured I'd go have some breakfast, put the broadcast on for pre-race, and they're going through the starting lineup, and, they're talking about everyone. They mentioned my name. I'm still sitting there on the couch eating cereal, and they mentioned that everyone's already girded and out of pace laps, and here I am 50 feet away from my computer just eating cereal. So, I had to drive through the field from 33rd. I think I finished 4th that race. But, yeah, just make sure I'm on time, make sure I know the schedule is a big thing to me. Yeah, it's really it.
11 a.m. Eastern on Sunday. There you go. There's the schedule. That's what you need to know.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Set the alarm for when you're getting up and when you're eating cereal to give you plenty of time.
Well, Robert, thanks so much for coming on. Good luck on Sunday, and I look forward to checking this out on the stream and following everything. And who knows, maybe we'll talk to you next week as well, as we'll chat with the winner.
Yeah, thank you guys. Take care.
Thanks again to Robert Maleczka, who is starting on the pole for the PRI Hoosier 500 coming up on Sunday.
He mentioned Scott McLaughlin when he saw him doing an iRacing race in 2020. Just don't pull a Scott McLaughlin when you're warming up your tires on the pace lap.
No, you do not want to do that. And don't forget, you can stream the race itself. It'll be on YouTube. It'll also be on the social media pages for PRI as well. So plenty of ways for you to watch and check this out coming up on Sunday. Again, 11 a.m. Eastern, set for the green flag in this event on Sunday. I'm looking forward to this. This is probably going to coincide with my son's nap time, so I'll just pull it up on the iPad and watch some of it. So I'm looking forward to it because I've tuned into, when IndyCar did it.
Right.
and maybe like one or two other times, but that's really about it. And I know like it's all out. I mean, they have people. I mean, they have anthem singer himself,
Jim
Cornelison singing the national anthem. They have an American Idol contestant, I believe, singing "America the Beautiful." B-2 bomber flyover. That was announced. We joked last week about the flyover, and no, they actually have everything is covered. So who knows? I don't know if there's a pace car driver. I haven't seen that announcement out yet.
Did they release balloons in iRacing?
Probably. They probably could. I know that's
easier to release
controversial
in sim than real life, I guess.
Controversial thing, but yeah.
No harm to the environment in a sim environment.
Yeah.
With the balloons.
So just so many things. Again, they'll have the pre-race show 9 to 11 a.m. Hoosier 500 YouTube, which is the Hoosier 500 is the username on YouTube, and then the broadcast on Facebook and YouTube for PRI, which is Performance Racing, on both those pages, 11 a.m. Eastern Time for the race broadcast. All right, let's shift things, talking some IndyCar, and really like two big headline things. Let's start with today's news, and really cool that Sunoco will be back in IndyCar full-time, first time since 1973, and they'll be on Kiff Dog's car. Kiff and Simpson will be the number 8 Sunoco Chip Ganassi racing car, and boy, does it look good.
It very much does. Now, is Sunoco, it's not the official fuel of the series, right?
No, that's still Shell.
Still Shell. So Sunoco being on the car is huge. This isn't just an ancillary deal from a company that's already in the series.
Yes.
So really cool to see. Really sharp car, as you mentioned. You also asked me, where does the Kiff's money go now? Hey,
so I figured it out.
Okay.
Yes. So I was curious, and I'd like to thank one of our Twitter followers. I have to find the exact answer here. But so Suncor, which is Sunoco, bought Parkland, which is the fuel retail company that the Simpson family were shareholders of a few months ago. So this rebranding makes sense. I wouldn't read into it anymore at this point. Now Ganassi and IndyCar have a chance to make it worth it for Sunoco to stay on. So that's from PF56T2 on Twitter. So thank you for that, because I was like, oh, what does this mean? Like, is this, but it's kind of the natural, rebranding, I guess, if you will. But either way, this is, I mean, the car's going to look even better in person than what we see in the pictures that were released. I'm really excited for this. I mean, we're talking a massive business-to-consumer brand coming into IndyCar that people know it's the official fuel of NASCAR. It's now also in IndyCar in terms of as a series sponsor. Obviously, it's still Shell V-Power fuel that they're using, race fuel, but still, I feel like this is big.
It's huge, and I think it's even bigger with the season that we saw Kiff and Simpson have last year, and feeling if he can take another step forward, this is a car that can routinely run in the top 10 potentially in 2026, which would be great for Sunoco. So we talk so much about IndyCar needing to get to the point where it doesn't have as many business-to-business relationships in terms of sponsors. Like you mentioned, business-to-consumer deals on these cars. And this is a big one, not just for Chip Ganassi, but maybe an indication that IndyCar is starting to get those numbers or reach the point where they can start landing more of these business-to-consumer relationships, as opposed to, hey, that's great that this sponsor is on this car. What is it? And we have to do research. Sunoco, we know what Sunoco is, right? You go through on a Cup cars and it's a veritable who's who. You don't have to look up a lot of the products and companies on Cup cars.
I still couldn't tell you what 3Chi is.
No, I can't do that. I mean, even even when Salesforce started being a big, it's like,
does anyone actually know what Salesforce does? I'm not in the SaaS community, so
no. I mean, I'm sure that people know, but I don't know.
I don't know.
You
either.
See, like their commercials, it's like so above level to, we don't need your business. We don't even need to tell you what we do.
There are people screaming at their phone or laptop or however they listen right now because of our comments. But
the point is it's with their commercials, like they don't do a very good job of telling you what they do, which tells me they don't need us to know what they do.
Yes.
They are doing fine.
And multi-year deal, so that'll take care of that. And then you talked about, getting to that level where more name brands. We saw it last year for the 500, for example. Allegra on Marcus Ericsson's car was a new player. I mean, there are several others, but that's the notable one that really stuck out to me. And then Will Buxton had this to say, because ESPN finished their F1 season and obviously their F1 coverage events average 1.3 million viewers, which is the largest U.S. seasonal average in history, 16 of 24 races setting viewership records. And Will Buxton, obviously now the play-by-play guy for Fox Sports for IndyCar, said it's a good time for open wheel racing stateside, with IndyCar on Fox setting a 17-year high of 1.36 average viewers in 2025. So that's slightly above NASCAR, or not NASCAR, above Formula One. In our first year broadcasting every race live on network TV, and F1 achieving similar figures. So there is clearly, with motorsports, really since 2020, it feels like a rising tide lifts all boats. And NASCAR maybe can get back on track now that their trial is settled, and we'll see all the changes out of that as time goes on. Obviously, F1 is riding a high, and we'll see if that can continue with the Apple TV deal. But IndyCar, at least in America, seems best positioned at the moment to really break through here.
Especially when you look at Formula One, like you mentioned, going to Apple TV starting next year. Inevitably, that's going to hurt viewership. And I think it's an opportunity for IndyCar. Okay, so if the casual fan is used to tuning into Formula One and now can't find it, but does find in their minds, similar open wheel racing series on over-the-air regular television, not stream, that can only benefit IndyCar, right? So
yes.
We will see, we hope to see a significant jump from last year's numbers across the season. I don't know if we'll be lucky enough to get another big number like we saw for the Indianapolis 500. But if we can see an appreciable rise, we always say, double-digit rise between one year to the next. If we can see it in 2026, that's a great thing. And then coming back to what we started off talking about, higher ratings mean more opportunities and more interested parties with advertisers that are more business to consumer based, which is where these teams and where this series wants to get.
And then final thing on all this, talking about Kiffin Simpson, I mean, early expectations for him in 2026. To me, I mean, I think he has a chance, if we see more growth, to beat. I mean, the ceiling to me is what, top 12 in points?
Where did he finish last year?
17th.
17th, yeah. I mean, I think Chip Ganassi Racing would be content with top 12. I think they'd be over the moon with a top 10 finish. And based on the jump we saw year one to year two, if he makes a similar jump, that's attainable.
Then the other big story in IndyCar this week, Penske Entertainment has established a formal independent officiating board for IndyCar, and there were already some positive ramifications for this that we will get to as well. So the IOB, as it's going to be called, reports to a new nonprofit entity, which is IndyCar Officiating Incorporated, created by Penske Entertainment. They are going to search for and hire a managing director of officiating, and this is directly from the release, that will report directly to the independent board with no oversight from IndyCar or Penske Entertainment officials. This individual will be charged with full officiating oversight, including the hiring of personnel for race control and IndyCar technical inspection, and responsible for enforcing the IndyCar series and Indy Next rulebooks as written by IndyCar. Pained me to say Indy Next on the quote, not going to lie. But so here are the names. NASCAR veteran Ray Evernham, longtime Ford executive Raj Nair, I believe that's how you say it, were chosen by IndyCar Series team owners via a vote conducted by Penske Entertainment. And then the third board member is Ronan Morgan, supplied by the FIA. Obviously, they govern everything from F1 to WEC and so on and so forth. But
don't govern IndyCar, which I found interesting.
But out of this, we did get already some positive news, as I mentioned, and that's that the super license points for IndyCar have been revised. Still 40 for first, but it's now 30 for second instead of 25, 25 for third instead of 20, 20 for fourth instead of 15, 15 for fifth instead of 10, 10 for sixth instead of 8, seventh used to be 8th, it is now also 8. 8th is still stays at 6, 9th stays at 3, and 10th stays at 1. But either way, this revision, very positive. And ironically, Colton Herta would be at 39 super license points, so still one short. But either way, this is really positive. But back on the officiating thing, you have people with experience in the industry, then you add someone involved with the FIA. I think you have to feel pretty good about this. Obviously, the fact that they will hire race control, they will hire for technical inspection. So does that mean everyone who was in race control previously is out? Like, how does that work?
I would think maybe they rehire them, or it's up to that.
Because, I mean, obviously,
retain them.
You have Max Pappas, you have Ari Leindyke Sr., and then why can't I think of Kyle Novak? In there, and I don't know if there's like an alternate or something, but that was the regular trio that we've seen. So,
yeah, we'll see. Just exactly, I don't see them, 2.5, 3 months before the season opener trying to replace everybody in technical inspection and race control and all that. I just think it's a good step to have this quote unquote independent body, even though it's still being paid by Penske Corp, to run things. I think it's interesting that an FIA member, in the story, it sounded as if, and maybe Marshall Pruitt even said it, that the paddock wanted to vote for everybody. They wanted control, because team owners love control, of who was going to be in there. But it was suggested by someone to go outside and get somebody, and that ended up being the guy from FIA. So how many races until you think they have some scrutiny? Do they escape St. Pete without any scrutiny?
One. This is IndyCar team owners we're talking about. But either way, very positive news indeed. So those are the headlines for this week. As always, if you agree or disagree with us, we'd love for you to interact with us. You can find us on social media, IndyCar Podcast on Twitter/X, also on Instagram, same handle on Facebook, just search for New Track Record. You can email us, newtrackrecordpodcast@gmail.com. Support us via Patreon, patreon.com/newtrackrecord. Thanks to Reed and others for their support. And as always, download and listen on your favorite podcasting platforms, whether that is Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. So we'll get to the mailbag. And we actually do have a few things to get to. Several small items over the course of the past week or so. And we start off, Lynn_IndyCar, do your podcast with Pato doing FP1 in the F1 race. Who has more F1 super license points, Pato or Herta? Well, thankfully, I didn't even have to do any research on this because our buddy Hickey93 posted the update, and it's Pato. He has 65. Herta, we mentioned 39. Alex Blow, 120. He had a funny comment on that we'll get to for Tweets of the Week. Dixon also with 65. McLaughlin, 51. Power, 31. Kirkwood, 28. Lundgaard, 21. Newgarden, 21. And so on and so forth. But there you go. There's the answer.
Breaking it down, Alex Palou with plenty of super license points. He just keeps winning championships. He'll keep really piling up those numbers. What he does with them, who knows? Maybe, probably.
Yeah. Thanks to Poet Shevchenko. Year-end Spotify summary came in. That was his top podcast, so thank you. 2,506 minutes of us. Top 7% fan.
That sounds brutal. 2,500 minutes of us in a calendar year. Poor guy.
Yes, much appreciated, obviously, for all of that. Let's see, several other things. This from Tyler Wong 65. IndyCar on Fox and World Cup conflicts tagged us in this. June 21st, Road America. There are 4 World Cup games, July 5th, Mid-Ohio 2 games, and July 19th. Obviously, we know they'll have the championship, and then IndyCar will be on at 6 Eastern following the World Cup final at Nashville. Other tweets to get to, other mentions. We also have an email as well, and I believe the email is similar in regards to the super license stuff. So a few other tweets as I continue scrolling. Scroll. Here we go. This from Jeremy from HBG. It should be noted that Ray, as in Ray Evernham, is responsible for more pages being added to the NASCAR rule book than any other person. If you were looking for people looking for loopholes, he's a pretty good choice. That's good, though. That's what you want in terms of making sure your rule book is locked down.
Well, it's going to be a bit of an about face for Ray Evernham, because instead of trying to find loopholes, he's going to be trying to close loopholes.
Several comments on the Kiffin Simpson car. This from Lynn. Interesting to see this on a CGR car, especially with Sunoco's history with Penske over the years. That's a good point. And Tommy the Tree 01 said, gorgeous, though it might be a bit awkward putting a Shell decal on it considering they're the fuel supplier. Yeah, well, you look at the mock-ups and the decals on there. It is quite funny, though. That was my first thought was, oh, wait, what happened to Kiffin sponsors? Well, Sunoco just essentially bought them out. My second thought was, so that's still going to have the Shell decal on it, and that's going to be funny. But that's a look at the mailbag. We do have one email, and it is from Josh, and he said, the same thing with a super license deal. He said, I know it's too little too late for Colton Herta, but does this move the needle at all? The only drivers that are finishing high enough in the standings to really take advantage of this are considered old geezers by F1 standards.
I would never put it past a Formula One team, if Alex Palou continues to win championships, to offer him a seat.
Yeah, that's the one guy. I mean, Pato, his only shot's going to come with McLaren. Obviously, the stable's full. And
those two guys aren't going anywhere for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, but with Palou, like you said, I still think there's interest. If he wins another championship, for example, I mean, eventually it will come to a point where does even like a Cadillac F1 entertain something with this? I think it's not entirely a lost cause yet when it comes to Palou. And then there are other young drivers who are either just breaking into IndyCar or not even on the radar yet. I mean, this does help. It certainly does not hurt.
Absolutely. Long overdue, for sure, but at least we got there eventually.
That wraps up the mailbag as we have to brisk forward. I know you got a hard out here coming up pretty soon.
I do.
Let's get to news and notes. McLaren had an auction for their Triple Crown cars, raised $19.9 million, and that includes Pato O'Ward's car from the Indy 500. And you want to guess how much that raised?
What was it? I'm sorry.
The McLaren, the auction. So Pato's car.
Pato's car. I will say $500K.
No, $848,750 US.
I was so close with my bid.
Yes, so close. Other things to get to in the last week. Did you see, as part of the NASCAR trial, SRX is coming back. So I thought that's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. We also found out how NASCAR looked at SRS as a
competitor,
I guess.
And then Steve O'Donnell, right? That's his name, correct? Of NASCAR, said Andretti talked to them about charters at one point with Honda. And then we'll get to more on Honda, unfortunately, in a bit. But a few little nuggets coming out of that. Several IMSA sports car, Rolex 24 related news. So first off, Marcus Ericsson competed in the 12 Hours of Malaysia, but his Lamborghini's rear wing failed in the first 30 minutes.
Was it like when Elio's wing failed that one time?
Yeah. Oh, it was what? Elio and Hornish at Milwaukee, right? Is that right?
I just remember seeing Elio's wing just collapse, and they immediately crashed. I can't remember if Hornish, same thing happened to him.
I don't know about that. And then Ericsson will compete with Wayne Taylor Racing, their lineup in the GTD category, in the Rolex 24, some other Rolex announcements. Kyle Kirkwood will be back with Vassar Sullivan, teaming up with former IndyCar driver Jack Hawksworth. And I believe there was one other driver participating in all of that. Let's see if I can find it. No, it's the other note, though, is that Peter Dempsey, who former Indy Lights driver in the closest finish of the Freedom 100, remember the 4 wide, he'll make his WEC debut as well with official TF Sport as they set their lineups with Corvette for the upcoming season. So I thought that was pretty cool. I mentioned Honda. NASCAR Executive Vice President John Probst says the series is, quote, very optimistic that a new OEM will be in the Cup Series as soon as 27. He said his feelings at some teams saying their costs have gone up. The next-gen car is one of bewilderment, blaming spending on things they don't need. That from Adam Stern. Obviously, the fear, as always, is that it's Honda. Always.
I hate to connect the dots when you look at, okay, their deal with IndyCar ends in 26, and they're anticipating Honda joining NASCAR in 27. Not saying that happens. I just don't like the symmetry there.
No, it does not look good. I finally have watched several of the parts, and they finally posted the whole thing behind the bricks.
The first two.
I've watched the first two as well.
Now you've watched the first two?
But I have not watched. They posted today, as we record on Friday afternoon, the full thing, but the turn to repave on Behind the Bricks at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Very cool. You can check that out on their YouTube page.
Yeah, really cool.
Alex Palou and his Palou Motorsport is teaming up with Prima for a Euro Cup 3 partnership. So his team growing with an IndyCar affiliated team. Thought that was a fascinating thing. Milwaukee Mile, the IndyCar weekend, August 28th through 30th. They announced details, renewal February 21st or 24th through March 1st, pre-sale March 2nd through 5th, and then tickets on sale to everyone on March 6th. Bobby Rahal is leading a 600-acre motorsports park in Florida. It'll be a luxury real estate destination, part of that.
Okay, so is that the same as what we're apparently
I think so
in Auburn? If you're not local here, so Tom Kelly, former owner of Kelly Racing, IRL team, and a veritable who's who of people with a lot of money around here, building, or at least planning to build.
Chuck Surak, who I believe is a billionaire.
If not, he's close. Very close. He owns Sweetwater. So just a bunch of dudes with a lot of money. This was shut down, last year or maybe even earlier this year, where they were going to build a racetrack out by Fort Wayne International Airport. That got shut down. Well, the old Auburn Auction Park up in Auburn, Indiana, which is probably about a half hour north of Fort Wayne. Well, that site is the new planned site for a race course. It will be FIA Grade 2 race course. It's not going to have a media center. It's not going to have any hospital facility, medical facilities on there. Otherwise, it's going to be built pretty much for rich people to race cars or run their cars. But, I predicted to you out the Indy GP by 2030 and in the Auburn Motorsports Park race by the end of the decade up here in northern Indiana.
I mentioned there was another IMSA announcement I was forgetting. Callum Ilott. He's going to run full-time in IMSA and IndyCar. No conflicts, so it's possible he'll be with Wright Motorsports Porsche 911 GT3R. So obviously he has at least the fallback if Prima does not work out this year. The series formerly known as Indy Lights is going to have an open testing schedule that's been solidified, including a trip to Miami.
How about this?
On the cards.
Getting to race at the... what do they even call this?
The Miami International Autodrome.
Yeah. So who would have thought the first series outside of Formula One, open wheel series in the United States that would be on track in Miami would be Indy Lights?
One of our favorite topics, lawsuits. Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing has filed a lawsuit against companies associated with 5 Hour Energy, basically related to payment on the sponsorship deal from 2024 with Pietro Fittipaldi. So
that's fun.
See how that plays out in everything. A few other things left on the IndyCar side. Marshall Pruitt had basically a 2-part thing on IndyCar 2028 on Racer.com. I'll admit I still need to read those.
It was very detailed. Now, I've read the chassis one. I don't know if they've released another one. It gets into the weeds eventually, but it's kind of interesting to go through the process of the chassis design, why it was initially rejected, what they're looking to do, blah, 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 saving weight. how they came about doing different things. So it is an interesting read. Not a lot of new information, but some solid, in-depth kind of research and look at what's coming, hopefully mid next year. We get a look at this thing.
And then Mid-Ohio tickets for 2026 on sale now as well, midohio.com. You can check out all the info on there. And then not a lot of big stuff from the mailbag for this week, but
nothing too crazy. It was still Marshall Pruitt pointing to Roman Grosjean as the favorite for that coin seat, the only seat we have open heading into 2026. For those that love to talk Freedom 100, Marshall Pruitt, dead as dead can be, the Freedom 100.
Think we can move on from that.
Let's move on, folks.
And then Roman Grosjean, I think you said this, right?
Yes.
Pole position for a coin. So that was really kind of the headline stuff. All right. Time for tweets of the week. Anything that we missed?
I don't think so. It was a relatively light week, as it usually is this time of year, even in the off season. But in typical style, we made the most of it.
As always. All right. Tweets of the week, and I believe we have a couple. First one is courtesy of Scott McLaughlin. So he was at the Pittsburgh Penguins game the other night.
Oh, was he?
And he tweeted, going on the Zamboni, which I'm very jealous because I've always wanted to ride on a Zamboni, but I just thought that's really cool. I think a Zamboni is fascinating.
I agree.
How do you get to be the guy or gal who drives a Zamboni? Like, I don't think there's a school you go to learn this.
Zamboni school?
Yeah, I just think it's really cool. Fascinating to watch. Hockey is a great sport to watch live as well. So that, and then I mentioned Alex Pillow. He was replying to the super license tally that Matt, a.k.a. Hickey93, put together on that list. And Pillow said, I have 2 super licenses for sale. They haven't been used, only serious inquiries. I thought that was awesome.
Very nice.
And that is it for Tweets of the Week. Time now for our random split era driver of the week.
So this is a familiar name, but I had either forgotten or not realized that he raced in the split era. Now, it was just 2 races, but the Flying Hawaiian.
Hey!
Danny Ungaius.
I didn't realize he raced in the split era either.
He is an official random split era driver of the week. Now, after a 9-year hiatus, he had not been in a car. He raced 86 races over 14 years in Champ Car. The most recent prior to his return was 1987. Now, when you look at the death of the late Scott Brayton in 1996, Indianapolis 500, it was John Menard that reached out to the Flying Hawaiian to replace Scott Brayton in that race. Under qualifying rules, he had to start 33rd. He was the oldest driver to compete in the field at age 54, and he finished 7th in that race. 33rd to 7th. He then ran his last IndyCar race the next year, the Indy 200 at Walt Disney World, where he finished 13th. In 1998, he attempted to qualify for the Indianapolis 500 with Team Pelfrey, who I continue to forget has been around for longer, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they were obviously in the Ladder Series more recently, but I forgot they were in a big IndyCar team as well.
He was unable to qualify for the 1998 Indianapolis 500 when he suffered a concussion in a crash in that race. So, okay, correct me if I'm wrong here.
He was replaced by John Paul Jr. as well, another random split driver of the week.
Now, technically, the 1996 Indianapolis 500 was not split era. Is that correct?
I would say it is because, what do you mean?
You would say it was split era, the 1996 Indianapolis 500?
Yeah, that's the first one.
Okay.
95 was unified.
96 was split era?
Was split era.
So the 80th Indianapolis 500 in 1996 was Scott Brayton's passing, and then Danny Ungaius raced in that race.
Yes.
Okay? And then he came back because the 96 season was 3 races?
Yes. Yeah.
Now the 97 Walt Disney World race, which was the second Walt Disney World race, the first one in 96 being the first ever IRL race. That was Danny Ungaius's last race. So the Flying Hawaiian is officially a random split era driver of the week. I had no idea. The funniest thing, Danny Ungaius is fascinating. Like, if you don't know much about him, like, just read his Wikipedia page, do some research. Like, they aren't even sure what age he is.
Wait, what?
So this is on Wikipedia. It says Ungaius's information listed his birth in 1940 as 1942 throughout his career. However, his birth was likely in either 38 or 39. Danny Ungaius Sr. in 1978 said that his son was preparing to turn 39 instead of 36. The 1940 United States Census, taken in April 1940, listed the younger Ungaius as being 1 year old by that point in 1940. The 1950 census lists him as 11 years old. A 1979 profile in Sport magazine referenced to the age discrepancy, stating, quote, if he began racing motorcycles after his hitch in the Army, as his father states, then Ungaius would have been inducted into the Army at 14, but taking liberties with one's age is common among race drivers. So we really don't exactly know when the Flying Hawaiian was born. Officially, quote unquote, he was born on May 21st, 1942, passed away February 26th, 2022. Mr. Danny Ungaius, the Flying Hawaiian, this week's Random Split Era Driver of the Week.
Outstanding find. You're getting more creative as you have to as the list narrows.
As we keep doing this. But yes, I was very, very surprised. I don't know how many people out there listening to the podcast realize that Danny Ungaius was a split era driver. I surely did not.
I didn't either. Well, that does it for Justin Kinney. I'm Caleb Hatch. Thanks to Robert Maleczka for joining us. We will chat with the winner of the PRI Hoosier 500 next week. Final episode of 2025 as well. I'm sure we'll at least have a few other IndyCar nuggets to discuss as well. Thanks for joining us on another episode of New Track Record Podcast.